This is all real. We actually designed it, found all the parts for it. And here's the indoor aeroponics. So lots of grow area. You notice the walls are all completely covered with grow pods, and then solar panels all over. That's Bravo pod there, connected with a vestibule for entry. This is a clear roof to allow some of that sun to come in. We had aquaponics in here. Again, lots of grow cups everywhere. HVAC system all sized. And the cool thing is the maintenance is all down below it. So you have your separation of purposes. You have your
And good afternoon, everyone. Jeff Raymond. Remember, he and I did March 2017 an interview, The Real Martian. You'll find that in my playlist, where we were talking about agriculture, indoor agriculture in snowy and cold weather environments for bioregenerative food and energy production systems. Because it's great to talk about a problem, and you could do that all day long and just feed the fear. But what about a solution that people know they can take action, know that there is a possibility for them to move through this the best way possible, with the best chance of, still living and thriving during these changes? That things have changed, they're going to continue to change. We're going to have to think of different fashions to get through life in itself. And one of the base things is food. No food, no society. No food, no civilization. This is going to be a solution-based episode more than it is, talking about the problem. But we do need to frame it on what both Jeff and I see in the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, before you might realize why you want to think about indoor ag or greenhouses or just ag in general that you can put some automation into. So Jeff, thanks for joining.
I'm not just pointing out the United States. I say global leaders, they want control. And the problem is they want power, and power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that saying, those old sayings are so true. And we're seeing that. We're seeing it. They have said, well, we don't want to scare everybody. And then they scare everybody. Like all of the leaders now that we have, I shouldn't say all, that's stereotyping, but the ones that are big, that are out there making the moves, they're using fear to get you where they want you to be. And I'm not a fan of that. I don't think people should give in to fear. I think that's wrong. I think it doesn't mean that I'm not afraid, but what we should be doing is creating an environment where courage is allowed to flourish. Tough times make strong men and women, and we need to start embracing that and getting to it. But maybe that's a little bit of a sidetrack. You just said it and I felt like saying it. So it's an interview.
Yeah, well, here's another thing, with the Eat and Grow systems, you're talking about year-round food independence. And see, that's what people don't get, is the supermarkets have always been full all year round because supply chains work. Because if we were limited to what we could grow, we would get a harvest once a year off of traditional farming. Would that carry you through? A lot of holidays around the world, from Chinese New Year to Thanksgiving, et cetera, are all about the last of the food before the new planting season comes in, and giving thanks for the abundant harvest at Thanksgiving here in the US. But right now, Chinese New Year, happy year of the tiger for anybody out there. Did you notice the spacing on it right now? They've come through the entire winter, so they've used up a lot of their stocks. So then they would take inventory of how much food they had left or didn't have left. And we're talking hundreds or thousands of years ago, because what you grew is what you got. So then they would take stock of what they had now, and then that would be prepared in one last giant feast, enough to get everybody hopefully into the planting season. And then, families would share with others. And it was all about, okay, maybe you have a little more stocks, and these community or families didn't. So you'd have the giant feast so everybody could eat, and then get that last, like I say, that last bunch of calories to get. And then, the planting season will begin in just another month or so. In some latitudes, not all, but, you look here, we'll be able to start to get out planting next month in March for sure. Now, the late freezes scare me, but the whole point of that was year-round food independence. People just don't get it, that you get food once a year in a traditional crop rotation. So Where does that leave us with getting food in a broken supply chain on year-round deliveries?
Yeah, that's exactly part of the problem that we're looking at. And David, do you mind if I were to share my screen real fast?
Yeah, please do.
I think maybe some of your audience may not be fully familiar with our story at The Real Martian, so I'm just going to do a quick. This is on our Eat and Grow Systems webpage now, eatandgrowsystems.com. You can go there and check it out. But this is kind of how David found me is when we built the hab here. And thanks to Wrangler Star, if you haven't watched this channel, go check that out too. All part of the YouTube community here, who kicked off our channel. But we built this really large solar panel based greenhouse. It was ended up being modified from this even. Let me get some more pictures here. Try to zoom in a little bit more. But here on the right, we actually turned it into the passive solar greenhouse concept. That's where we kind of ended up with it. Fully solar powered, anaerobic digester. We had 4 levels of growing capability inside of it. We grew $15,000 worth of microgreens. We grew potatoes. We raised rainbow trout, all automated, all controlled with an app. By automated, the control systems, the watering, temperature control, HVAC, all that stuff were all automated. We had to go in and harvest still, which is still a lot of work, and we have plans for that in our new versions. But I've actually partnered with Bart Womack at Eat and Grow Systems, and we are now business partners. And he separately was building what we call LifePod, which is essentially a mobile version of the hab with a few less capabilities, but almost the entire thing. And he's very successful at that. Here you got some pictures of lettuce and basil and everything growing inside, doing some strawberries vertically. And aquaponics, he was growing tilapia in it. And we did rainbow trout in ours. But we had, he was really looking at the food side, and I was looking at the food and energy side. I really think it's key that this is about the energy, because it takes energy to create food. And if you come up with a lot of systems that are energy inefficient, then the return on investment, whether in time or money or lights or whatever you put into it, is negative. It sucks instead of provides. So this is what kind of got us all started. And when David and I are talking here about this indoor system, we call it the Genesis system. And we submitted a patent for it, bioregenerative crop and energy production system for terrestrial and non-terrestrial uses. That is the full name of our patent, kind of a mouthful. But this is where we started, and we started big. We kind of went against the grain. We're like, hey, let's build a big one first, because then we can just find other people's parts and we can throw them all together. When you make things small, it takes a lot of time because those parts don't exist. You have to go get those parts. So we got this big thing. We use pallet racking, wood, pond liner, stuff. And we built this huge thing. This is 80 feet long by 40 feet wide. I think it's huge. And 22 feet at the top. And lots of great videos on my site, hundreds of videos on the build of this thing. So you guys can go check that out. But it was working. It was working really, really well. And then unfortunately, it collapsed in a snowstorm a few years ago, about 4 years ago now. 4 years ago, 3 years. And we had 2 feet of snow in 48 hours. I couldn't keep up with it. And what happened is it got on the insulated side of the greenhouse here, and it formed a little bit of ice, and that's all it needed. And this whole thing came collapsing down. Videos on that on our site as well if you want to go see the results. It was a very sad day, very, very sad day. So my wife and I had this decision point. We're like, okay, are we going to keep doing this or are we not? And we decided, you know what? God has brought us this far. We've invested a lot of money. Let's take the risk. We're all in, right? So not long after that, I left my job of almost 10 years, successful, high-paying, good job, and we took the risk. We're living on faith. Partnered with Bart, got eating going, started hiring people, did the design of the new one. Here, let me show this. No one's ever seen this. This is
Hey, Jeff, can I ask you a quick question since you had that image there? What about your solar panels with snow on them? Because I remember before you said you'd have to get out there pretty frequently and get the snow off the panels. So just anybody who's thinking about solar panels for use as a backup or primary source in a snowy environment, can you give a little thought to problems you encountered or wins that you had using that there?
Yeah. And while we talk here, I'll try to find a better picture to help illustrate this point. But yeah, solar panels, a lot of people, including myself, I'm a fan of solar panels. I like them. There are challenges with it. It's a technology. There's manufacturing issues, supply issues, where you get everything from issues. But in general, I really like the idea of using natural energy as much as possible and feasible, responsibly so. But a lot of people are a little too, what's the right word? They're a little too hard up on it. They think it's like the end all be all solution. And if you have get solar, save the world. Well, actually, no, you're not going to, because let me tell you how well solar works when there's 3 feet of snow on the ground. It doesn't at all. It's a zero solar panel system. There's no place to put the snow. It's really difficult. If you have a solar array like ours, it is really, really difficult to manage the snow. Eventually, you just give up. You can get the snow off of it when it's like a few inches. You can clear it and let the snow. Once you get enough solar panels uncovered, then you can actually get the sun to take over, and it will actually melt off pretty fast. But when you talk about the dumping that we have, and what I think people are going to face a lot more of, solar is not a long-term solution. It is an excellent solution for the medium term. Here's a better picture for everybody. Sorry, let me make that bigger so you all can see it. So what you're going to see in this picture is a few things that we changed because of the snow. One, we needed more sunlight coming in because the energy requirements for having everything artificially lit is just too high. You need to use as much natural lighting as you possibly can, and you need to use that all year round. You'll notice off in the corner, I'm not hiding anything. These are propane tanks. We had, with the temperature deltas that we have, during the day, you hardly need any heating at all, but at night, you got to have heating. And the whole backside of this greenhouse here, the hab, is fully insulated with 4-inch thick waterproof insulation. And we sealed all the stuff as best we could, but you still need, I think it's 250,000 BTUs to heat this thing. And let me tell you, when you walk by 2 500-gallon propane tanks and that heater kicked on, all you heard was as the propane just sucked out of it. So there are better designs than this. I'm not saying, by the way, the Genesis system is not saying that this thing is the design. This is what we did to prototype our ideas, and we learned a lot from it. But these solar panels, this is almost 20 kilowatts of power, and it's enough to power our entire ranch, as you can see here in the picture. But once you get snow on it, and I think it was one of my first videos, once you get snow on this, you just cannot keep up. And what happens is snow slides down. So then I take my tractor and I plow the front of it. But you trust me, when you have a lot of money tied up in solar panels, you don't get too close to it with a tractor that can break it. So you kind of stay away for safety, and you blow the snow, and the snow will come off to a certain point, but eventually it just starts to back up. And you just need a clear day and a lot of clear days, and eventually it will slide off and melt. But yeah, solar panels, they're no bueno during big snowstorms. And wind is probably the next question. You know, it's like wind. This system was designed to work off wind off to the side. There's is a poured slab, 3-foot cube slab that we poured to put a big wind tower on. We never made it that far because of money. But you know, when it's not sunny, we want wind. But let me tell you, at night when there's no wind, it's really hard to generate power. So we had a third source of energy here, which is the anaerobic digester, which is actually down in the ground over here where my mouse is pointing over. Hopefully that comes through, but in the top right corner of the greenhouse, it's built down in the ground. 12 cubic meters. It's still big. It would not produce enough methane to heat this whole thing. However, over time, you can collect quite a bit of methane, and you can do partial heating. So with the 4 ways of heating here, you have the daily heat, you have solar when you can use it, you have wind, and then you have anaerobic digestion, which creates methane. You can burn it for heat or for energy. You come really darn close to having energy balance, and then get a better building and make sure it's insulated and has thermal mass and thermal heaters or mass heaters in it, you know, something with mass that can hold heat. You actually got yourself a solution. So that was our story with solar. And what I wanted to show you is we actually have modified that. This is a world premiere. No one has ever seen the HAB 2 design. I haven't even shown it on my side, I don't think.
World premiere, Adapt 2030, right on. And then propane prices have been going through to the moon as well. So, you know, when it used to not be so expensive for the propane, everything's doubled in price, or in some places not as available. You're on a rotation list here. So
I'll just let this thing go. But so what we're looking at is the new design for the HAB. We've actually modified this design even further. This is all conceptual. This is all designed. This is all real. We actually designed it, found all the parts for it. And here's the indoor aeroponics. So lots of grow area. You notice the walls are all completely covered with grow pods, and then solar panels all over. That's Bravo pod there, connected with a vestibule for entry. This is clear roof to allow some of that sun to come in. We had aquaponics in here. Again, lots of grow cups everywhere. HVAC system all sized. And the cool thing is the maintenance is all down below it. So you have your separation of purposes. You have your operational area up top where your food is grown, and then you have all the dirty stuff is down below. We learned that through the process of Have One. And then we actually were working with an early investor, and you can create villages of these things. They all connect to each other. As part of why they're hexagons, because honeycomb, like a beehive. And you can bring them all together. And we actually created a living pod. It's like a tiny home is what we call it now. But you can actually, all of them share everything. So if one of them goes down, you can reroute power, like on Star Trek. Oh, I've lost power. Well, let's reroute it through such and such. We can do exactly that with this design. And then you have a little living center here. And we did this for places like the Philippines, where there's a lot of people and they kind of have a housing challenge. They have a food challenge. They have a what are we going to do for work challenge? Well, our solution here with the Genesis and these Habs was great. Like they could live there, they can generate food out of it, and it creates enough food. Just Alpha and Bravo create enough food every day for 4 humans, 2,000 calories per day. That's the math, and we have to prove it all, but the math works. In our experience with the Hab and LifePod show that this is a good idea, but and that's what we've invested. That's what we're taking the risk for. So this right here, we're really excited to get back to it, but we faced some major challenges when I first left my job, and we were doing this full design. This took like over a year to put this all together. And my wife and I, we were living off of savings for that time. And the challenge was that we're like, okay, well, we got this all figured out. And we made some additional changes because of thermal. We actually built a computer that would just go through and do the analysis for it. It took days. Like one run on the computer to get all the numbers we needed would be like 2 days worth of time, human time. And we got it all figured out. And we're like, okay, we're going legit. We can't just throw this up in our backyard. We have to go talk to the county. We have to figure out what the permits are. And they were super excited. Like, it was amazing. Our local county was amazing. But they're like, we're so excited to do this. It'll be like 6 months. And, we're like, whoa. What'd you do? What'd you say, 6 months? And like, yeah, well, we've never seen this before. We're going to have to evaluate it. We have to have these guys evaluate it. Like, okay, that's fine. We got to do that. But we don't have 6 months worth of money left. So we moved over to what we call LifePod, which is a mobile version of it. And if you put it on wheels, you don't need any permits or anything anymore. So we got a 50-foot trailer, parked it out back here. We had that's a playlist on our channel as well to start. And, the first Hab collapsed under snow. So then we start this whole process of redesigning the Hab. We get through it. We shift over to this LifePod. And then all of a sudden, we have this thing called COVID that comes out. And all of our investors are like, well, you know what? Global pandemic makes me a little scared. Rightfully so. Nobody knew what it was at the time. And well, now we can argue that too. But so what we did is we shifted gears. We shifted to what we call our grow tower. We actually have a few parts that were in the Hab. We have the grow towers and the grow walls, and we have our app. And we're like, okay, well, we can build those. We have enough money left and we have enough time. So let's go build these towers. And oh, by the way, I think your friend want to know, there's actually little robots in the Hab that go around and actually have sensors on it that actually scan everything, so you don't have to be there to look for pest or disease. And then there's one that it has a little picking claw on it, actually picks it, puts it in another one, and just runs it to you so you can have it. So your harvesting is automated as well. That saves 75% labor just by doing 2 robots, 75% labor. It's amazing. But I digress. So we focus on these towers, and we're actually, this one that's shown is our version 2.2. And we're actually on version 2.3.1. We're building those right now out in the garage and in our shop. Now we got 2 guys out there right now building. They're doing amazing work. and we're designing our version 2.4, which we are selling on our site. And this tower does some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah,
So
can I ask a quick question about that? Because here, automated aeroponics system, leafy greens, a lot of people know that you can do greens pretty well. We've got tomatoes, strawberries, tuber crops, because you'd mentioned the amount of calories, 2,000 calories per day. So, what type of species you're able to load in there. And my thing is always, can you grow grains in it of sorts? Because I would also target superfoods like Guyanura, which is this leafy spinach, a longevity spinach, things that have a lot of nutrient density, a lot of high value to it. So walk me through that process there of what we know traditionally, tuber crops, root crops, that's something different. And then could we put some grains in there too, and maybe do a target because a lot of times, a lot of the energy is wasted going up and creating the stalk. I talked to couple persons who were trying to do the target head only and reduce the stalk length on wheat. And this was going to be in an indoor ag setting as well, to try to reduce that down to 4 to 6 inches and have all the nutrients coming in, but still have the head the same size. And this is specifically for wheat, but that's what it is. So I guess, is that too many questions at one time?
No,
the listeners out there?
Yeah, I think I can work through them here. So let's start with the first one is, tuber crop. What kind of crops can we do? Now, you're right. Traditionally, I think this is what you meant. Traditionally, when you look at, actually let's step back to make sure everybody's on the same page. So when it comes to the definition of terms like aquaponics, aeroponics, hydroponics, people can get confused, but let's make it really, really simple. So normally when you grow food in the ground, you're just growing food in the ground. It's just agriculture. If you want to grow food without using dirt, we call that hydroponics, where you're taking a liquid nutrient solution and in some way, shape, or form, you're getting that nutrient solution to the roots where the plants need it. And there are different varieties of that. But what we're doing is taking the word hydro, water, ponics, growing, putting it all together, and that's hydroponics. Now, within the family of hydroponics, because it is what everything we're talking about is, hydroponics is just simply growing things without dirt. You still need a media of some sort. There's 2 subdivisions of hydroponics. There's using basic nutrient solution, which is traditional hydroponics. That's where you go and you buy the bottles of nutrient solution. It'll say, it has its NPK rating on it, and you use that based on the recipe that your plant calls for. The other subset is the newer one that a lot of people are really excited about, and that is aquaponics. So aquaponics is the combination of bringing aquaculture, fish, shrimp, tilapia, catfish. Those are some of the more popular ones, together with hydroponics. So you get aquaponics. And what you're doing there is your input is your fish food instead of a nutrient solution. And then the fish eat the food, the fish do their business, the business gets to the plants clean the business goes back, or the clean water comes back to the fish. That's simple aquaponics 101. There is another division within it, which is how you deliver the nutrients, whether they're aquaponic or hydroponic. And the method that we've chosen is NASA-based. They started the work, Dr. Raymond Wheeler, who I've been in contact with. He's a great guy. Dr. Gary Studi, who's now our director of research, former NASA. Aeroponics kind of started there. A lot of people played with it, but NASA did a lot of studies on it. They're very good studies. And we've taken that and we've commercialized it. And what aeroponics is it's a subset of hydroponics. It could use fish, it could use aquaponics to get the nutrient solution. But what it's really doing is it's taking the water, the liquid that contains the nutrients, and it's micronizing it. It's getting it really super small, like less than the size of a human hair, 50 microns. And what that does is it gets it so small that it makes nutrient uptake in the roots really, really easy for the plants. It also allows you to grow a lot of other stuff because you can play around with what you're doing in the root chamber and be a little more kind of specialized. So in aeroponics, which is what we use, we have a 2-inch cup, and we put a grow media in it. We put the seed in it. We set it into our grow deck. We turn it on. We let it go. It germinates, and then the roots start coming out. There's a picture of what really healthy aeroponic roots look like. And it's not the world's greatest picture, but it's one I could find quickly here. Maybe I have another one. Yeah, there we go. So what you're looking at here, they look way different than normal roots. So if you pull up roots from a garden, they won't look like this. I think these are like lettuces and tomato plants. Um, Tomato plants, actually, I think is what's going on here. You see how white they are, and you see how branched they are. And what's happening is we have our little foggers down here, our misters, and we run, one of the ways we reduce energy is that our pumps only run for less than a minute every 45 minutes. And pumps are kind of heavy consumers of power. So because we don't use constant running water, which is an energy problem. It's a great way to grow things hydroponically, but it sucks up a lot of energy. Pumps take energy. So we just use it very selectively. It comes with challenges. Now, we have to have battery backups and things like that to make sure the pump's always available. But as long as it's hitting that 1 minute every 45 minutes, you get beautiful roots like this. And because it's aeroponics, it sucks up those nutrients a lot faster, with a lot more efficiency. And because it's a lot of air in here that gets disturbed, you have a lot more oxygen getting to your plants. So you get a lot faster, a lot more vibrant growth. And we're seeing that. We're seeing all those things come as we go through the process of learning. So our towers that we have now, next question. That's the methodologies. What can you grow in the towers that we've done? Let's start with the competition and what I saw when I started in this space. You could get all these little desktop things, the consumer level, hey, I want to, grow a head of lettuce on my kitchen table. And you pay me $200 and you get this little thing that will grow leafy greens or strawberries. And that's good, but it's not really a value add. It's more like a prop. It's like hey, look at what I'm doing. We wanted a system and a solution. We demanded a solution that would grow food that you could actually eat and make meals from. And so we actually have multiple variations of these towers. I'll zoom in here, where all of these towers can grow root crops. They can all grow carrots. They can all grow onions. They can grow beets. We've grown that. We've got videos on that. All these things we've grown. And the tower that's not shown here, but we do have videos of up on the Real Martian, is our potato tower. And that one we've just successfully figured out. We had to call the guys at NASA and talk to our director of research, and we got it all figured out. But it was a little bit of a trick to getting all the potatoes to tube. They grew great. We had these huge canopies of potato plants, but we weren't getting the tubers. And we finally got the tubers to go, so we were able to actually grow potatoes. That tower's not shown because we're redesigning it based on everything we learned. But we have a single deck that has no reservoir on it. All these towers are meant to be connected to each other. They can buddy breathe. So that means the towers that have reservoirs, our reservoirs are what we call bimodal. It's not because they don't know who they are. It's because they can do things multiple ways. They can operate in hydroponics. They can operate in aquaponics. So it's a 60-gallon tank, and whether you want to put nutrient solution into it or you want to raise fish, you can do that. And then they're heated as well, which none of our competition has. And then you put filters on and stuff for fish mode. But one 60-gallon reservoir can feed up to 15 to 33 of these towers, daisy chained to each other. So that you only need the one reservoir. You just got to keep it filled, and then the water goes to all of them. Depends on what crops you're growing, but that's why there's a range.